Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on how to create a successful fundraiser. My name is Andrea Lucy, and I'm the Membership and Chapter Coordinator at PWSA USA, along with my co-host, Rika Boss, Director of Development and Communication at PWSA USA. During this webinar, we will learn about the many aspects of planning and executing a successful, substantive, revenue-generating fundraiser to raise awareness and money to support the PWS community. Before we get started, here are a few notes about PWSA USA. In 1975, parents Fausta and Jean de Tierling learned their child had Prader-Willi syndrome. A referral to the Child Development and Mental Retardation Center, now the Center for Human Development and Disability, at the University of Washington brought the de Tierlings together with other parents and professionals acquainted with the syndrome. Together, these committed individuals formed a group called Prader-Willi Syndrome Parents and Friends, now Prader-Willi Syndrome Association of the USA. 4 decades have passed since PWSA USA's founding, and we remain unique in the terms of the breadth and depth of all that we offer. For over 40 years, the commitment and support of our community has enabled us to fund life-changing research, deliver life-saving resources and support, and spread awareness and education to make the PWS community stronger than ever. PWSA USA continues to be a self-sustaining, internationally recognized leader, empowering those affected with Prader-Willi syndrome to enjoy a productive life in an informed and accepting community. PWSA USA is a collaboration of families, individuals, researchers, healthcare practitioners, and professionals working together to strengthen our efforts in the areas of awareness, family support, research, education, and advocacy. These 5 pillars serve as the foundation for who we are, what we do, and what we can yet accomplish as we work together to improve the lives of those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome. Today, we will be talking about nonprofit fundraising. Nonprofit fundraising is a great way to cultivate support and attract new donors. But great events and great fundraisers take a lot of planning, financial support, and hard work. To help you ensure that your fundraiser is a winner, we will cover some major components that you must incorporate into your fundraising plan. So let's get started.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. When we talk about fundraising, one of the first things we should do is separate fact from fiction. We have a lot of perceptions, often misperceptions about what we think we have to do or what we need to do or what we should do with fundraising. So let's talk about that for a second. First, think about the group you're fundraising for, whether it's PWSA USA, your local chapter, or another Prader-Willi syndrome cause. What is the organization's mission? Why do they even exist? And importantly, why do they need the money? Is their mission worth pursuing? What would happen if PWSA or your local chapter went out of business today and never to return? That families didn't have the organization like ours to turn to for support and resources. If the mission matters, then how can you not raise money to support it? Nonprofits can only exist through fundraising. Every dollar, whether it's $10 or $10 million, keeps organizations like ours and PWSA chapters working, doing, and helping their local and national communities. Far from being evil, fundraising for PWSA or your local chapter literally saves and transforms lives. And in many cases, a lack of fundraising would prevent your local community from being served at all. So remember, fundraising matters, and so do fundraisers. The next time you feel awkward about fundraising, or the next time someone gives you a cynical comment about fundraising for your chapter, remember, fundraising is the literal lifeblood of the PWS community. Without fundraising, we wouldn't be able to carry out our mission. So fundraising matters, and if you're raising money for an organization that does good work, so do you.
Before we do anything else, you must decide what is the purpose of your fundraiser. Is this truly a fundraising event, or does your fundraising event perhaps have other goals? Perhaps your chapter may be hoping to raise money at a fundraising event, but the main function of the event is to bring families together in one place. Many charitable events have more than one goal. Figuring out the details of your event will depend on knowing what your goals are and what you are trying to achieve. The planning process should outline the steps necessary to work toward that potential and determine the staffing needed to implement your fundraiser. When developing your plan, focus on the big picture, not the nitty-gritty details of the plan itself. Remember to remain flexible and nimble. Consider the plan as a framework for organizing your thoughts about the fundraiser. When determining the purpose for your fundraiser, reaffirmation or revisioning, Keep in mind that your current and projected staffing or volunteer needs and financial projections, including income, expenses, reserves, and new revenue streams. Strategic planning does not end when the plan has been written and distributed. A well-formed framework or plan will guide the decision-making process and help ensure that all activities related to your fundraiser are aligned with the fundraiser's purpose. Ongoing monitoring and revision are two important aspects of effective strategic planning. A well-written plan will allow you to focus your efforts and give you guidance on strategy and tactics when you are in the thick of the events, mailings, calls, and everything related to your fundraiser.
If your purpose for the fundraiser answers the question, what are we doing? Then your fundraising goal answers the question, how much money do we need to do it? Your fundraising goals will be the amount of money you want to raise for your organization, whether it's PWSA USA or your local chapter. You may have an overall goal for your event as well as individual goals for individual participants. Sticking to your budget is necessary to ensure you can raise the amount that you have set for yourself, your goal. One of the worst cases would be ending up in the red and using donors' gifts inefficiently. Creating a reasonable budget for your event can ensure that you plan accordingly, cut unnecessary expenses, and further your cause. Consider your expenses. There might be venue costs, crowdfunding software, event software if necessary, catering, printing costs for marketing materials or if you send out invitations, entertainment, promotional items and products, marketing, decorations, and be sure to think about things like insurance and other, because sometimes the local municipalities will require different permits and things like that. Make sure you think of all of these little unforeseen costs. Make sure you have a little bit of extra wiggle room in your budget for miscellaneous or things that you might not think of right away.
To make sure your fundraiser's purpose and goals are clear and reachable, include these key elements. Make a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, your chapter wants to raise $5,000 in net income during your May awareness walk to provide scholarships to 5 families to attend the National Convention in 2021. This conference is a life-saving conference, and it provides an opportunity for families to connect with other families and the rest of the PWS community. Based on your last year's event with $6,500 in gross income and $4,500 in net income, you just need to raise $7,000 in gross income by May 31st to make this happen, with an expected $2,000 in expenses. That is a very detailed SMART goal. And by using SMART goals, you'll help get clear on why you're raising money and who or what you're raising it for. All other decisions will be based on this mission statement. Defining your cause on paper is the first step in setting your clear plan of action. Determine both your fundraiser's purpose and financial goals to help you stay on target during a fundraising event and throughout your planning process so you can assess the success of your event once it's over.
So this webinar is focused on fundraising and not specifically on event planning. However, here are just a few quick notes to remember when planning a fundraising event, such as a walkathon or a conference. You need to pick a date and time, obviously, but don't be afraid to pick something that's a little bit out in the future so that you have enough time to really execute a great fundraising event. Ideally, you should have 4 to 6 months to plan, if not more. Always be aware of holidays and not just the ones that you're familiar with. Think outside of your own calendar. Look to other religions and, just be mindful that other communities might be celebrating something that just because you aren't doesn't mean we don't want to be respectful and mindful of that. So always be aware of holidays and things that others might be focusing on at a certain time. Check dates with key participants, speakers, presenters, VIP guests, etc. For example, if you're doing a conference or you just want to have a special guest speaker that is perhaps a medical provider, their schedules are typically very busy and they fill up fast. So that's another reason why you want to make sure you have plenty of time to plan your event. Think about your venue. If you're throwing a larger event, you'll have to select the city that you want to host it in. Try to find a good central location. If you're throwing a local event, that's less of a concern, but you still want to be mindful. Is it some place that's easy to access? Does it require a lot of driving? Is it an appropriate, comfortable venue for your event. And yeah, exactly. Regardless, plan an event that's easily accessible to most of the people attending. So if you have people if this is a walkathon, always be mindful of the fact that you have some people who will be in wheelchairs, or they'll be using walkers, or they might just be on crutches because somebody went through a foot surgery or broke their leg. We always want to make sure that, for example, if you're at a park and you're going to be walking in a specific area, that area where the walk is actually happening is accessible to everybody. And main attraction, what is it that's going to get people to attend your event? Are you going to have a special speaker? Are you going to have fun games or contests? So think about not just the main purpose, but what are some other fun, interesting, and meaningful additions to your event?
So next we're going to talk about identifying donors for your fundraiser. The kinds of donors who give and when they give is determined by what kind of donor they are. So here you'll see the circle of donors. The closest to you, such as your family and friends, give first and require the least amount of resources to reach out to. Those furthest from your cause, such as power donors, give last and require the most resources. Think about when you ask grandma to donate $20, she's more likely to give than somebody at a local bakery asking them to provide donuts for your event. They are least likely to give and are going to require the most time and effort and energy to reach out to them. Hey, Rika, I think you're muted.
Many people believe fundraising is another word for begging. This notion is perhaps the single greatest obstacle of successful fundraising and leads staff and volunteers to avoid the most critical and essential activity for their organization, asking for money. A donor's contribution is not an act of kindness, nor is it a personal favor. People contribute because they want to. So, who are you targeting for your fundraiser? What communities, companies, organizations, neighborhoods, and groups of people will you approach for donations? Can your volunteers, board members, and beneficiaries of your chapter help you compile a list of potential donors? Let's reveal the circle levels and what each level means. The fundraising message to donors will be shaped by the circle into which they fall. The key is to develop a fundraising message that will motivate each donor group to give. So know who to ask and when. Your donor circle is comprised of personal contacts, your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, parent support groups, teachers, etc. They are motivated to give at the beginning of your fundraiser, so you should ask them first. And think about the broader PWS community. These are people who give because they are part of the same community and they identify with your cause. There are ideological givers. These are groups and people whose interests are similar to yours, such as places of worship or civic organizations. And there's the power circle. Businesses and corporate leaders. These donors are people who want to promote their own interests. They give because they want to see the benefits for themselves. They are the last to give and will likely require the most resources. And then donor bridges. Ask donors to give you names of additional prospects for you to call and reach out to. This list will guide your fundraising promotion, whether you decide to fundraise via direct mail, social media, crowdfunding, events, sponsorship, in-kind donations, or all of the above. Having a prospect list will help you know who exactly to target.
So what makes a good ask? A good ask is an actual question inviting a person or company to take a specific concrete step on behalf of your fundraiser. First, an ask has to be an actual question, meaning it has to start with words like, will you, or would you be willing? When you talk to someone but don't actually ask a yes or no question, it's not really an ask. Saying things like, I hope at some point you will consider, or I'd really like it if you would, is not an effective way to make a fundraising ask. Second, an ask invites a person to take a concrete step. That step needs to be, doesn't need to be in writing or on a check. It could be an invitation to come to an event or pass out flyers or whatever. It just needs to be a concrete step. Asking someone to think about your role with our chapter is not a concrete ask. Lastly, it should be specific. That means you should ask for a specific amount or attendance at a specific event or volunteer hours for specific projects. Asking, would you contribute $500 to our school is at least 20 times more effective than asking your prospect, would you like to make a contribution to our PTO? Likewise, asking your friend, will you come to an event sometime is not nearly as effective as, will you come to the chili cook-off on January 21st? When people are asked for a specific amount or to take a specific action, they are much more likely to give and are much more likely to give at a higher level. Understand that there will be no's, and that's okay. Fundraising is like baseball. Even the best, most experienced practitioners receive lots of no's. Don't let them get you down. They are part of the game. But go into the conversation expecting a yes. Attitude matters in fundraising. If you go into a fundraising ask assuming you will get a no, you probably will. Remember, your mission matters. Go into every fundraising ask expecting a yes and asking for a yes. Don't be afraid, as part of your earlier planning process, to write out a script for yourself so that you'll feel more comfortable once you're on the phone. Once you practice it a few times, you'll see that it's actually quite natural to ask for donations, and it makes for a very pleasant experience for both you and the person you're asking for a donation from. So back on the slide, again, make it a question. What's good? Will you donate to our upcoming chapter walk? A bad ask is, I would really like it if you would. Maybe consider talking to our chapter leader. It's not a good ask. Make it concrete. I would like you to make a donation. It's not a good ask to say, I want you to think about your role with our chapter. And again, keep it specific. So a good ask is, would you contribute $500 to our May Awareness Walk? A bad ask is, would you like to make a contribution?
So going back to the donor circle and looking at from the outside in or from the outside or from the inside out, your personal circle, how do you make the ask? So your personal circle will contribute out of their personal affection and loyalty to you, your child, your cause. Donors in the personal circle don't need to be cultivated. They don't need to be warmed up, so to speak. Their motivation is from the heart, and it has really little to do with the facts or circumstances of the fundraiser itself. These donors will be ready to give early. Their support buys time for you to educate the outer circles. When communicating with donors in the personal circle, you should speak from the heart, be genuine, use familiar and emotional language to convey your affection and make them feel needed. Think of your personal donor as your best friend. Your message is simple and to the point. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and I really cannot do it without your support.
Moving out to the next circle is the PWS community and how to make the ask to someone who maybe is within the PWS community in your state or your region. These donors are cause-driven. They give because they share the same commitment as you to the PWS community and the PWS cause. You need to demonstrate a common heritage or passion through a personal story or a history of supporting the PWS community with them. When speaking to other PWS community donors, you must convey your passion and commitment to the PWS cause. So an example would be another family in your state. Your message to them is, our chapter has provided over $2,000 in scholarships for families to attend the national convention. Together with your donation, we can ensure that more families are able to attend in 2021.
Next is the ideological circle. These donors give because they want to. Your solicitation is not about your chapter or an upcoming event or a fundraiser or what you'll even do with the money. It's really about addressing the donor's need to do charitable work. Rely on a background search you know about the donor to inform you about their interests and concerns. So, in other words, you have to learn about these donors before you reach out to them. They are likely not necessarily personal contacts, so don't be afraid to look at their Facebook page, ask a few questions around the person, people who know that person, to discover what their interests are. For example, if you go to a church or a synagogue, you might somewhat know somebody, but it's likely that you have a friend who knows that person better. So talk to that friend who knows that person. Get some background information about them. And then develop your message, which is, I'm raising money to send families to the PWSA USA National Convention, where they will connect to other members from the PWS community. Your donation is important and necessary to carry out our mission.
Finally, that outer circle, the power circle. People in the power circle give because they want to advance their issues or get positive public recognition. They care about your viability, so be prepared to talk to them about attendance numbers, fundraising figures, and the benefits you can give them. Many local businesses like to sponsor people in their community who are doing exciting charitable work. So think about which businesses you have relationships with or where you are a frequent customer. Maybe there's a donut shop in town that you go to all the time, or that is a friend of your friend who might be willing to sponsor your event or your fundraiser, or even bring donuts to the event so that way you don't have to feed your families that come. So for a power donor, it might be a pharmaceutical company that's researching PWS treatment. Your message to them is, I'm a parent of someone with PWS and a leader in my PWSA chapter. I understand the needs of the PWS community in our state, and I will work with you to increase visibility for your clinical trials to our families. With your help, we can continue to save and transform lives in the PWS community.
So the basic message about fundraising at the most basic level is truly ask everyone and don't limit yourself to money. There are many different kinds of donations. So remember, there are lots of people who want to give money, who will give for lots of different reasons, and they can give at all different levels and through all kinds of fundraising asks. So don't limit yourself by only writing down who you think will give. List everyone you know, your entire network. You can never be sure who will want to give and who won't. The first thing to remember about making an ask is that not every fundraising ask is for money. As you peruse your list of fundraising contacts, you will likely see some people on that list who are ready to be asked for a donation. You will also likely see lots of people who know nothing about your group and who will need to be educated about Prader-Willi syndrome before they can give. For these people, the best ask might be to ask them to come to an informational event, or to look over a newsletter, or to come to a seminar. These non-ask asks are still asks. Instead of asking someone for money, you are asking them for time and effort. Asking someone to come to an event or to listen to a speaker is often a really great way to get a prospect's feet wet with your chapter and can lead to bigger and more numerous financial rewards down the road.
Switching gears, we're going to start talking about how to make that ask and put it onto paper. So fundraising through mail or email is a way to raise money without having to ask a person in person or over the phone. With email, your only expense is time, but with direct mail, your expenses can add up quickly. So let's talk about how to be effective with your direct mail fundraiser. Your house file mail is mail sent to your own organization's list of past donors. These donors have already contributed to your group, so they're likely to give again. Past behavior is the best predictor for future behavior, meaning if someone has given to your chapter before, they're likely to give again. If they don't give, they are unlikely to do so in the future. Prospecting mail, on the other hand, is mail that is sent to a list of people and companies who have not previously given to your chapter. This list of prospects might be one that you borrowed from a fellow nonprofit, or that you purchased from a list broker, or that you compiled on your own. While house file mailings will often be very profitable and will receive returns in the 5 to 15% range, meaning that with good house file lists and well-written letter, you can often expect to see 5 to 15% of the people on that list sending a letter back with a donation. With prospecting letters, your goal is simply to break even, meaning that you make back in donations as much money as you spent in sending out the mail. Response rates for well-written prospect letters, even with good lists, are in the 0.5 to 1.5% range. The people who give in the initial prospecting letter become donors and then are added to the house file list. Keep in mind that both of these lists can also be used in your email to donors. So use both tactics, direct postal mail and email, to ensure your message reaches your intended audience.
Now we'll talk about your actual fundraising letter. Great fundraising letters have two things in common. The first is that they are compelling and emotional. Remember, your organization and your mission matters. So why does your organization matter? Figure it out and then tell people. Tell people stories that tug on the heartstrings and make them cry. In fundraising letters, people don't want to hear a list of boring statistics and facts. One or two surprising or super compelling facts might make a difference, but it's the stories, charts, and photos that make people give. You want to tell the story to appeal to readers' hearts by showing them how your work is making life better for lots of people. The idea is to put the reader in the shoes of the person who is going to benefit from his or her donation. That said, don't drag it out. This is a part of the letter should only be a few sentences long. The second is that these letters need to be written in a way that the compelling content gets read. If people are busy, and very few people are going to have time to read through your entire fundraising letter, especially if it's more than one page. Most people will skim your letter to see if it's worth even reading. So where do they look to make those decisions? The first sentence, the pictures, the charts with their captions, headlines and bolded or underlined words, and the PS. That's it, just 20 to 30 seconds of skimming. A donation request letter then needs to be concise and to the point. One page is a great point. Define your problem and then be as straightforward as possible in your writing. Keep it short and simple, but make sure you outline the larger issue and explain the underlying problem. Once you've grabbed your reader's attention and defined the problem, then it's time to tell them about your goals for the campaign. Doing so will help current and potential supporters understand how their donations will be used and who will benefit. Be sure to explain the urgency of the situation. Your aim is to convince supporters and potential supporters to act and act quickly. After you've shared your goals for the campaign, it's time to make the ask. Don't worry about coming off as pushy or coming off as too strong. You didn't create the letter to dance around the issue. You created it to raise money to help people in need. Now is not the time for subtlety. Now is the time to trumpet your call to action. Emphasize how the reader's donation will change lives, and be sure to tell them that while any amount helps, more is better. The best letters give your readers lots to skim. Remember, you've got to hook them in 20 to 30 seconds. Use section headlines, a great opening sentence, and a PS, pictures, and pull quotes in bold, and you can use bolded and underlined words. Then make sure that all of that skimmable content works together to tell the entire story. If your letter is going to be sent in an email, remember that people are much more likely to get online, read your content, click your links, and follow through on your calls to action if your email is mobile friendly. Use examples from the for-profit world to help give you an idea of what you can do to be successful in your direct mail letter. You can also think about successful nonprofit tactics as well. Remember those heartbreaking ASPCA commercials? You know the ones. Sarah McLachlan's song Angel starts playing and you immediately want to help. First you are sad and maybe you even cry. But then you become mad and wonder what can be done to help change this and save these animals. So you make a donation. Try to channel that same compelling emotion into any letter or email that you write. Finally, no matter how direct your ask, striking a humble and respectful tone throughout will help make current and potential supporters feel valued and important.
When fundraising online, think about the donation process like this. A donor is inspired by your organization's message and wants to give now. So how many steps do they have to take to do so? The more steps you require, the more likely a potential donor is to lose their inspiration and never give at all. Online giving makes it as easy as possible for supporters to take action in seconds from anywhere. Supporters can quickly make donations, become a member, and even set up recurring gifts with just a few taps or clicks on any device. So in order to do that, you need to start with a website. For most organizations or chapters, your website will complement your other fundraising activities. Your website provides a great opportunity to offer lots of information to your donors, including reports, white papers, stats, news. Likewise, you should be using email newsletters and e-blasts to keep your donors in the loop about all of the things you're doing throughout the year. Make sure you have a Donate Now button on your website and set it up to accept one-time and recurring donations. The website also provides a landing pad where you can send people to make donations when they can't make donations on the spot. For example, if you're hosting a successful parent-mentor meeting and someone says they'd like to help or make a donation, have them pull out their phone and tell them they can go to your website to donate. Announce your web address from a podium during seminars and invite people to go there to learn more or to donate. Any chance you get to promote your website and how to donate easily is best. If you're holding an event, you can set up an event page to give them information about the event, invite people to buy tickets online, do an early preview of your silent auction, and more. If your chapter isn't set up with an online fundraising platform, reach out to National for help. We're here to make sure your event is successful and can set up an online fundraiser for you. Once your fundraiser is set up, you should be able to create a separate page for each person who is raising money as part of the event, and each participant can email out their friends a special link to their friends as part of their fundraising pitch. Crowdfunding and peer-to-peer fundraising are two great ways to gain more new donors for your cause. Volunteers, advocates, celebrities, corporations, all of those people can raise donations from friends and family using their own peer-to-peer fundraising pages that are shared across social media, text message, and email. So make sure you're doing the same for your chapter as well.
Social media. We either love it or hate it. Social media poses both the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity for nonprofit organizations. To get started, simply create a Facebook, Twitter, or other social media account or page for your chapter. For this part of our presentation, we're going to focus on Facebook. Once your Facebook chapter page has been created, you can create fundraisers, and supporters can create fundraisers on your behalf. It's important to remember that Facebook fundraisers only work if you promote them. Include a link to your Facebook page on your website's homepage. Include it in newsletters and in emails, basically everywhere and anywhere. Ask your staff members, board members, volunteers, and donors to like the page and help you promote it. In your personal account, tag the page and ask your Facebook friends to check it out. Ask employees and board members to do the same. And then post interesting information about your nonprofit organization and share success stories and photos. Ask your followers questions to engage them in dialogue. And remember to keep your posts brief. You don't want to lose your audience by presenting lengthy updates. Invite your supporters to be part of a Facebook fundraiser and ask them to invite others. It doesn't matter whether you are hosting an event on site. The whole day is worth celebration. You can further spread your nonprofit's organization's work by making use of hashtags and handles. Create a hashtag for your fundraiser and use it in all of your tweets and posts. People who are interested in a particular event, person, or business will follow the hashtag to stay up to date on any conversations around the topic of interest. To tag people and other organizations, use the @ symbol and start typing to find them, and then tag them in your post. Let people know that you are out there and engaged. Respond to tweets and comments on your posts like you are holding an actual conversation. You never know where this interaction might lead. Social media is not just about your words. Pictures and videos draw people in, and sharing interesting articles about what you and others are doing shows that you are part of a lively community. So here's a few things here. So to create a fundraiser on Facebook, click Fundraisers on the left menu of your news feed. Click Raise Money, select nonprofit or charity, select a charitable organization, choose a cover photo, and fill in the fundraiser details, and then click Create. It really is a quick and easy process. And then once you have done that, then just promote the heck out of your social media pages. Talk it up, create a Facebook event, again, use hashtags and @handles, and then be part of the conversation. This is social media. That means people look to platforms like Facebook and Twitter to actually have conversations that they can't have in person.
Corporate sponsorship support is another way that you can raise money for your chapter or your fundraiser. Corporate support is a payment by a business to a nonprofit to further the nonprofit's mission that is generally recognized by the nonprofit with an acknowledgement that the business has supported the nonprofit's activities, programs, or special events. In other words, your chapter gets money that you need to be successful, and the corporation gets recognition and brand visibility. Think back to that power circle and begin to research companies with a strong presence in your community or within your local regional community and your PWS community, and identify those with a commitment to your organization's cause. Ask people on your committee or board members for contacts that they might have on your list of targeted prospects. Corporate sponsorships attract the attention of for-profit businesses because sponsorships offer public recognition of the business's connection with a certain charitable cause, which may help the business attract new customers or bolster the company's reputation because of the halo effect. Basically, the nonprofit is seen as doing something good. Charitable nonprofits, in turn, receive financial support and may also experience increased attention from media and the public, in-kind services and/or product donations. A successful corporate sponsorship benefits both your nonprofit, your chapter, and its sponsor. However, there are tax issues to be aware of. In order for a corporate sponsor to be appropriate and legal, the benefit for the for-profit entity, your corporation should not outweigh the benefits of your chapter or other nonprofit. Sponsors can be recognized by the organization, but this recognition must not endorse the sponsor's product, use comparative language, or mention price information. Once you cross that line, you're going into advertising for the sponsor, and that contribution becomes taxable income. Here you'll see some best practices for creating corporate sponsorships. So you want to review your last year's program or event, what obstacles that were overcome, any successes that you can replicate, and make sure you communicate that to your corporate sponsor when you solicit them. Provide demographics on your audience and who's going to come to your chapter event or fundraiser, the number of guests that you anticipate, and be realistic about it. If it's only going to be 15 people, then say it's only going to be 15 people. Don't promise more people coming to your event than what will really be there. And if you can, provide the number of guests from the previous year. When you draft your sponsorship levels for corporations, make sure you list what the benefits are to each corporation at each level. Reference the sponsors at each level and then tie it into an event theme such as platinum, gold, silver, bronze, or maybe major or lead sponsor, patron sponsor, ambassador, friend. And then consider other types of sponsorships such as a table sponsor or the reception gala dinner sponsor or a chalk sponsor when you have a big chalk art competition at the end of your walk. Sponsor benefits usually include an acknowledgement in the following ways. You want to do some pre-event promotion of your sponsor. You want to include an invitation for the sponsor to actually attend your event in person. Links to your sponsor's website from your event website is also very important, or from your regular Facebook page or chapter website. Include event signage if you're able to afford it. Nice big sign that says gala dinner presented by corporate sponsor A is a great way to make sure that they are recognized in person. Give them a verbal thank you at the event from the podium. Just come up there and say thanks to all of our sponsors, particularly our lead sponsor, corporate A, for putting this on for us. If you are able to, give them a small gift. It doesn't have to be anything special, but a little box of chocolates or an in-person thank you note is really effective in making sure that they come back next year. Sponsors are usually offered guest passes to your chapter event or fundraiser, with a number of passes depending on the donor level. So a platinum sponsor would get more event tickets than a bronze sponsor. This provides the corporation with an opportunity to meet their prospective clients, as well as a way for them to entertain current clients when they come to your event.
Although nonprofits often focus on procuring cash donations, gifts from donors may come in many forms, including goods, services, or time. Tangible goods include things like equipment, books, cars, clothing, furniture, and supplies. Goods may also be intangible, such as advertising, patents, royalties, and copyright. Goods might be used surplus, brand new, or even loaned. Think about a food bank. When you donate a canned food item, you're providing a tangible good instead of a cash donation. In-kind services are professional services donated by groups such as corporations, small businesses, vendors, colleges, individual professionals, and tradespeople. For example, your chapter could be given transportation or publishing support. An in-kind donation involving time occurs when people give their free time, they give their time to you free of charge or for payment by a third party on the nonprofit's behalf. An employer might also loan paid employees to help support a nonprofit. There's a lot of organizations that do cool things like that. For example, Kohl's. They have the Kohl's Cares program. So think about local stores and stuff in your area that you might have a connection with to reach out to. Well, side note. So consider creating an in-kind form to ease the process of recording, reporting, and acknowledging gifts. Also consider creating a gift acknowledgement form, which donors need to claim a tax deduction for gifts worth more than $250. In addition, sending a gift acknowledgement shows your donors that you value and appreciate in-kind gifts just as much as cash donations. All right. Now we're going to switch gears just a little bit and talk about PWSA USA's upcoming online fundraiser. PWSA USA is proud to participate in the Community Foundation of Sarasota County's 2020 Giving Challenge. This is a really cool 24-hour online giving event supporting more than 700 nonprofits who serves Sarasota, Manatee, Charlotte, and DeSoto counties in Florida with giving that is strengthened by the Patterson Foundation. The 24 hours begins at noon on April 28th and runs until noon on April 29th. The Patterson Foundation will match all unique donations, meaning each person can only donate one time from either individuals or businesses up to $100 per donor. And thanks to several generous PWSA USA donors creating an additional matching pool, the impact of giving received to our organization during the Giving Challenge will be actually tripled. Before the challenge starts, we are asking our communities to visit www.givingpartnerchallenge.org and search for Prader-Willi Syndrome USA. Then you can start your own peer-to-peer fundraiser. It has been noted that organizations who engage and mobilize their supporters, okay, I'm not going to say all that, Andrea. I'm going to redo this one.
No worries, just redo this. Actually, Erica created these slides. No, it's okay. Erica created these slides, so yeah.
So bad. All right, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to start that one again.
Okay.
Before the challenge starts, we are asking everyone in our community to visit givingpartnerchallenge.org and search for PWSA USA, and then start your own peer-to-peer fundraiser. This will help us increase our reach, just as we explained earlier in the webinar. So we, as an organization, have a certain list of supporters and donors that we're aware of, but everybody in the community has their own contacts that they could create their own, that once they create their own page, then they can go share it with all of their network. So we're asking you to become a fundraising champion. After you've visited givingpartnerchallenge.org and search for us, you can create your own giving page, as we said, and then share it with your friends and family. Just click on the fundraise button, enter your name, email address, and follow the instructions sent to your email, and then post on social media. Share. And remember that remember to remind your donors that donations can only be made between noon on April 28th and on April 29th. So what that means is we want you to create your fundraising page, please, and then when you share it, there will be a donate button on there, but people can't actually, it won't let them donate until those 24 hours between noon on April 28th and noon on April 29th. And of course, you can do it, and we're here to help. So if you have any questions whatsoever about the Giving Challenge, or you want to learn more about it, we will be sending out emails from PWSA USA explaining the process a little bit more. But it's an opportunity for us to do some of the peer-to-peer fundraising that we were talking about earlier. So we're pretty excited about it, and we're really looking forward to everybody creating their personal fundraising pages and see how much we can raise together to save and transform lives.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to our webinar today on how to have a successful fundraiser. If you have any questions about fundraising for your chapter, how to create corporate sponsorship packages, or anything about fundraising, please reach out to us. You can reach us at info@pwsausa.org. If you would like to reach me directly, my email is alucy@pwsausa.org, and Rika is rbos@pwsausa.org. Our 1-800 number is up there on the screen. You can also reach us by phone and just listen for the phone tree to dial either of our extensions. Thank you all again for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.